If someone told me 41 years ago I'd be back here today talking about housing, I would have said you're nuts. But it is a work that I'm doing now with great passion and just loving what I'm doing. I'm an engineer by trade. I spent a good chunk of the first 30 years of my career focused on all things climate change, energy efficiency in various sectors. But as fate would have it, about 4 or 5 years ago, through some conversations, this is before COVID and before real estate did this, a number of individuals and I got together and thought that and knew that housing was a major issue in the province. So we decided that we should try and do something about it. So again, grew up in St. Andrews. I left. I now live in Fredericton, so we just drove down this morning. So I currently work as a consultant with the New Brunswick Not-for-Profit Housing Association. Freelancer now, but I also do a lot of work on other projects, including some around Charlotte County as well right now. The other thing I'll add just quickly before I start, I just want to let you know that this Regional Service Commission, Xander, Alex, Vivian, best darn Regional Service Commission in the province. I just want you to speak first. Yeah. So now I'm done, so someone else can speak. But I mean that in all sincerity. This Regional Service Commission have been fantastic to work with. And some of the work that we are doing is happening because of what this Regional Services Commission is doing. So they are leading the way in this province. So anyway, I wanted to share that up front because they're doing fantastic work. I'm going to talk today for about 10 or 15 minutes about a project that the association is doing called the Housing Asset and Data Map, as well as the Den, which I'll talk about for a few minutes as well. So as we all know, the need for housing is substantial in this province, everywhere for that matter, but especially in this province, Charlotte County in particular, but all around the province. We need to build as many affordable houses as possible as we can, as quickly as we need to do it. Simple as that. In that context, we need to change the way in which we get housing built. We need more information. We need tools to accelerate how we get stuff built. I spent about 15 years in the automotive industry prior to what I've been doing in Ontario, building car parts and stuff. And in that sector, you really get to learn and understand and appreciate what a supply chain is, right? You got your Ford and GM and Chrysler, they get their suppliers to do stuff, they get their suppliers to do stuff, et cetera, et cetera. This is how I like to look at housing in New Brunswick. We are all part of the supply chain. The municipalities, the regional service commissions, the province, the federal government, CMHC are all part of a supply chain. The builders, the GCs, the plumbing supply companies, the plumbers, the subs are all part of a supply chain. If we all work together and collaborate and cooperate, we can actually, I believe, accelerate the rate at which we can get housing built in this province. And we need to look at it in that context because we really need to accelerate how we get housing done. I believe we can work together to do that. To do that, we need to have in place what I call a number of continuous improvement projects, or CI for short. The first one that we're doing, two actually we're doing right now. One we started this summer called the Asset Map, which I'll talk about for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then the Den. The New Brunswick Not-for-Profit Housing Association, the sector itself consists of about 180 organizations around the province that own and operate about 6,500 not-for-profit and co-op housing units around the province. So the NBNPHA actually represents and works with those organizations. Back in May 4th, and some of the people in this room were actually in that photograph. Xander's probably hiding in the back somewhere. You might see the top of his hand. Back on the May 4th, we launched an initiative to start looking at how to accelerate housing in the province. So we had a great working session. There were 72 people invited from 9 different subsectors to share our data, kind of share challenges and stuff. And I have a feeling today is going to have way more value than what we did then, especially the speed dating part. I'm really looking forward to that. So anyway, so this initiative was launched in early May. And what we're doing, the association working with the New Brunswick Multicultural Council and the New Brunswick Business Council, which is essentially 25 of the largest businesses in the province, we're collaborating to essentially get a better sense of various aspects of demographics of information that can affect and impact housing. So I'd like to recognize COA, Regional Development Corporation. We've got Alexis here today. And an organization called CHTC, which is short for the Community Housing Transformation Center, which you may hear more about later. They're an organization based out of Montreal that are pan-Canadian that help contribute funding to the non-engineering and the non-technical side of projects. They're also helping fund this as well. And again, I will make another plug for this Regional Service Commission. They're likely, I assume you're going to be talking today about some of the projects you did this year. So is it going to be you talking about or someone else? Okay. So Xander's going to share more information today, but what Xander will be sharing today with respect to what this Regional Service Commission is doing has been a great foundation for what we're literally doing province-wide. And the collaboration between the Regional Service Commission and the association has been absolutely fantastic. So what we are doing is over the course of the summer and up until about early November, we're working with 25 rural communities around the province. So by rural, we define that as anywhere outside of the greater St. John, Fredericton, and Moncton areas. So we're including Edmundston, Campbellton, Miramichi, and Bathurst as a rural community. And I've got a map of those coming up. So these are all communities that have identified housing as a need, in most cases based on the fact that the anchor employers or the larger employers in those communities are saying, hey, we need housing for new employees. This is an issue around the province. In the 3 cities, builders are building what they can as fast as they can. But as we know, and one of the reasons why we're here is we're seeing a lot of challenges in rural communities and getting housing built. So in that context, what we're doing is pulling together 6 different chunks of data that we will be sharing online in early November. For these 25 communities around the province. One will be census data, which is pretty basic and easy to get. It's essentially what you can grab from Stats Canada, like what's the population of the community, what's the average income, et cetera, et cetera. So that's easily obtained information. The second is, and this is something the Service Commission has done, and I'm sure Xander will be talking more about, but is that when for example, organizations like CMHC get involved, and Dominic's speaking after me, the median market rental rates, or the average rental rates in those communities are important for decisions that CMHC make with respect to financing those projects. That data can be difficult to obtain in communities with a population of less than 10,000. So again, the Regional Service Commission has done some great work in this area just earlier this year. We're doing something similar in scope, working with these other communities outside of this Service Commission. We're also putting together a list of available properties in those communities. So essentially like a realtor.ca, but for properties that could be developed for new affordable housing. That type of inventory will include private property, public property, could be Crown, municipal, federal land. It could be old buildings like hospitals, schools, churches, you name it. So this way we can actually put together a list, and we're putting it on a map, so it'll look just like an MLS map, but it's actually those little balloons will actually represent property that could be developed on. So if anyone's interested in developing a property, they can just go look at a map of Florenceville or Evanston or wherever and go, that looks interesting. So we're putting that together as well. We're putting together a housing partner directory. We're looking for people like yourselves who want to be part of the solution. And I'm going to do something peculiar at the end of this presentation in a few minutes. I'm going to ask you all to haul out your cell phone, which is what you do not want to do when someone's at the front of the room, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyway. So what we'd like to do, and again, we started this on May 4th, and today is a perfect example of that, is we want to collect names of organizations, individuals, people, builders, not-for-profit organizations who want to be involved around the province, around housing, because we plan on doing more sessions like this. This is the first, hopefully, of many around the province. So we can keep people in the loop, share ideas, that kind of thing. So we're putting together a housing partner directory. We have another student who is literally, as we all know, it's one thing to look at the median market rental rate, the average rate in a municipality now, but as we all know and we're seeing, those rents go up when there's a turnover in the rent. Where do you get that information? You get it from Facebook and Kijiji. So we're actually working on pulling that data from those 25 communities around the province. So if a posting goes up in a Facebook group or Marketplace or Kijiji, we're actually grabbing that data so we can build an inventory of postings as well. Oops. And we're also linking those to MB Jobs site, which does a great job of actually listing all the positions available in a community, so we can triangulate that data as well. So that is the housing asset and data map. Again, regional service commissions, municipalities have been fantastic to work with around the province. We're still gathering a lot of data, but again, that will be available public in early November so that you can go online and see what properties are available, et cetera, et cetera. So that's number one. Data number two I'm going to talk about is the Den. Hands up for anyone here who's watched the Dragon's Den at least once or twice on CBC. There we go. So we all familiar with the format. So we all know who Kevin O'Leary is. He's grumpy. We don't want Kevin O'Leary. Oops. So one of the other things that we've noticed, especially with not-for-profit and co-op organizations, is the time it takes to get a project going. There are a lot of meetings to be had. There are a lot of individuals, some of which will be here talking today, that you can go talk to about financing, about funding, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is they are all in their own office in Fredericton, in Ottawa, in your regional service commissions. The question is, how do we accelerate those conversations? So patterned after the Dragon's Den, we're going to call this the Mentor's Den because we don't want any dragons here. We want friendly people. So starting in a few weeks, we're starting an initiative called the Mentor's Den, or the Den, where project proponents, and there's one sitting in this room right now, we'll identify who they are, will be coming to the Den and actually pitching their project to all of those funders in the same room at the same time, in the same place. So they're going to talk about their project, and then around the room, those mentors can say, well, what about this, what about that, blah, blah, blah. That way they can actually get to 8 or 9 different individuals from different organizations at the same time, as opposed to taking a week to talk to John here, and a month to talk to Mary there, and another 3 weeks to talk to Fred there. They can do it all at once. That way as well, all of those mentors can meet with themselves in the same room as well. So that can accelerate the process as well by better understanding each other's roles. So that is the Den. These are the organizations who will be in the Den. Again, some of you in this room may recognize all of those green boxes. Some of you may recognize some of them. But all of them can play a positive role in helping finance projects, in particular not-for-profit and co-op projects. Social Development, Regional Development Corporation, Opportunities New Brunswick, CMHC, the Community Housing Transformation Center, the Housing Investment Corporation, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and MB Power. So they will all be at the table at the same time where you have an opportunity to share your project with them. Again, this will be the process. We're looking at this, doing this roughly monthly. We will invite project proponents to pitch their project. We'll be creating a standard pitch deck. For example, include images of the PIDs you're looking at, or the properties, or perhaps Google Street View, as well as some of the preliminary financial information so that everyone's got sort of a similar pitch. Unlike the Den, you don't want to see train wrecks. You want to see everyone succeed. So we want to make sure that everyone's coming in on an even level. These will last about 30 minutes, and then the Den members will work together afterwards to kind of talk about it and figure out where the best directions they can help. So that will be the process. And again, why is this important? Right now, we need to increase the number of housing starts province-wide by 30% relative to the 1990s. And given the price of real estate, given the cost of construction now, given the reduction of skilled trades, that is a hefty challenge. And again, the way in which we've been doing it is not going to work. If we're to increase our if we're to get enough housing starts going to increase our workforce in the province by 0.5% per year, we need to do 90% more housing starts in the province relative to the 1990s, given the challenges we have. So we have to look at how we do this differently than we have in the past. And that's why sessions like today are fantastic. And this is a great first step, and I hope you all get engaged in this process. And finally, 2 tasks here for you. Number 1, if you want to track me down somewhere, that QR code is actually my digital business card. So if you get out your camera, you can just scan that and find my number and all that stuff. But more importantly, what I would like you to do is on your phone right now, and I'm not going to leave until I see you take your phones out, is go to rlnb.ca, and there you will see a SurveyMonkey survey that will ask you some questions about whether or not you're interested in participating and getting more information on this process in New Brunswick over the next few years. It should only take a minute or 2. So on that, please complete the survey. Let us know who and where you are and why you're here. And on that note, thank you very much, and have a great day. I know Xander's going to do a great job here and giving it a lot of value today, so thank you.